Thank you, everyone. And today we want to talk about budgets in the country or government budget in Kenya. My name's John Goka, and I would like to talk about the government budget. So, the government budget is a government's most powerful tool to meet the needs of citizens, especially those who are poor and marginalized. Whether it's about health or whether it's about education or whether it's about climate change or whether it's about health in our health centers, facilities in our health centers. The most well-meaning public policy has a little impact on poverty until it is matched with the sufficient public resources. And those resources are used effectively to provide public services, we normally have civil servants, media, who help citizens to engage the government on public finances. Also, they help citizens. To engage in the research. Also, they promote transparency and participation in budgets or during the budget process. So, what is a budget? A budget is a formal statement of estimated income and expenses based on future plans and objectives. So, in other words, a budget is a document that sets out the government's proposed revenues, expenditures, and priorities for a specific financial year. Why is it important to know the national budget? And why is government budgeting important? Government budget is important because it enables the government to plan and manage its financial resources to support the implementation of various programs and projects that best promote the development of the country. What are the two purposes of the national budget? You will find that it is used to make sure that the state has the resources it needs to do its work. Also, it creates conditions that stimulate economic growth, and also it clearly indicates the priorities of the government. And parliament and the budget, you'll find that one of the main functions of parliament is to discuss and pass the budget. Every year, the Minister of Finance introduces the budget in the parliament. It is discussed in committees, debated in the two houses, and a vote is taken. A budget has two sides: revenue, income, and expenditure, what will be spent. Budgeting is about balancing available resources with meeting the needs of the people. The state raises money through various taxes. Before we go through the budget process, let us understand first the budget documents. So when we speak about national budget or counties' budgets, there are specific documents that belongs to the budget during the time of budget process. And These documents are: 1. Annual Development Plan, ADP; County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP; Program-Based Budget, PBB; County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFP; County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, CBROP; Citizen or Mwananchi Budget; County Budget Implementation Report, that's first quarter; County Budget Implementation Report, second quarter; County Budget Implementation Report, third quarter; County Budget Implementation Report, fourth quarter; and the Budget Policy Statement. These are 11 budget documents. So we want to look in each and every document. So we will first start with ADP. What is County Annual Development Plan, ADP, in Kenya? The County Annual Development Plan, ADP, is an important document in the budget process in Kenya. So it is an annual document that the County Executive Committee member, they are in charge of planning and also should prepare the document. In our Constitution, Section 126 of the Public Finance Management Act provides for the County Annual Development Plan, ADP. An Act of Parliament is a form legislation passed by both houses of Parliament, Senate, and National Assembly to create a new law or to change existing law. The Annual Development Plan, ADP, is produced by each county government. The ADP should contain, the ADP document should contain: 1. The medium priorities that the county governments hope to achieve. The priorities should be drawn from the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, which is a medium-term 5-year development plan for the counties. All government programs with the performance indicators or targets, they should show priorities similarly organized under programs as the program-based budget. Descriptions of a major development or capital projects. These details include information on individual projects, their locations, timelines for completion, and projected cost. Explanation of major changes done to programs or projects in the CIDP. These changes may be necessitated by certain factors like public input. So the narrative or explanation assists the public and the respective assemblies to understand how the changes were meant. Lastly, overall budget and estimated cost for major programs and projects. The Public Finance Management Act requires the ADP to have summary budget for the whole county, with the rough allocation projected costs for each program based on their priorities. Another document is called CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP. CIDP, the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, in Kenya is one of the major type of county plans in Kenya. It is a 5-year plan that counties prepare to guide their development activities, Therefore, it is important to understand how to analyze a county integrated development plan, CIDP. The County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, should contain the strategic midterm priorities of the county governments. These are usually the priorities for the county during the tenure of a county government, 5 years. The County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, should contain information on development priorities that inform the annual budget process, particularly the preparation of annual development plans, the annual county fiscal strategy papers, and the annual budget estimates. We have key questions about County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP. We have this question because they guide and also they are useful whether the CIDP is available or not, because it provides guidelines on what a CIDP should have. This article presents a summary of the key questions highlighted in the guide. And I will go through the questions, these questions. One, does the current CIDP provide a review of the previous CIDP and its implication for the current CIDP? It's a question. You will find that historically performance trends in the county should inform the preparation of a County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP. Counties should prepare CIDPs in such a way that they consider successes and challenges from previous years. Second question. Does the CIDP provide a clear and realistic development strategy for the county over the next 5-year period? Setting the priorities, CIDP should provide a clear development strategy for the county for the next 5 years, including a clear theory of change, and how the selected priorities will be applied, and how priority sectors will spur development. Third question. Does the CIDP provide the programs and transformative projects to be implemented to achieve the desired development change? The CIDP will be a key reference document in a subsequent budget preparation process. Two key components that should be provided in the CIDP are programs and projects. Programs define the objectives to be met by county spending, and projects should be the flagship and transformative projects that are proposed to support the development agenda the county is advancing in the next 5 years. Another question, does the CIDP provide a clear and realistic revenue mobilization strategy for the county over a 5-year period? That's a good question. It should be clear how priorities in the CIDP will be funded, including the different sources of revenue for the county government. So there should be a clear revenue mobilization strategy that includes existing revenue sources and new revenue sources. Next question. Does the CIDP indicate areas of coordination between the national government and the county governments, development partners, and the stakeholders in the county development? The CIDP provides the overall development agenda for the county, which requires coordination among various stakeholders to avoid duplication of effort and to build synergies. Another question, does the CIDP propose deliberate steps to promote equitable distribution of resources? The CIDP should provide information that shows the least development areas using various parameters such as access to improved water, healthcare, etc., and the intended steps to reduce inequalities. Another question, does the CIDP provide an implementation, monitoring, and evaluation framework? Yes. The CIDP is a 5-year plan, and it should have an implementation, monitoring, and evaluation framework in place. Clear timeframes, baselines, targets, as well as indicators for programs and major projects should be provided in the CIDP, among other requirements. Another question, are there adequate justification for the proposals being advanced by the CIDP, and what data or evidence is cited in the proposals in your CIDP? The CIDP should provide relevant information to support all proposals therein and to aid in a budgetary decision making for the next 5 years. Explanation for the proposals and decision made during the CIDP process should be adequate, based and accessible, accurate, and verifiable data. The last question is there evidence of meaningful public participation in the CIDP preparation process? The CIDP should provide a report on the public inputs included in the CIDP preparation process, the preparation process and how it influenced the final document. If these inputs were rejected, adequate reasons why should be provided. Another document, the budget document, is called Program-Based Budget. Program-based budget is a budgeting tool where all budgetary information is organized around the city's programs or counties or sub-counties and programs and services. The budget will show the cost of the program, revenues that the program generates, as well as show a way to evaluate the programs. Public finance is key to the successful implementation of all government policies. In the public sector, budget preparation, program-based budget (PBB) approach has been found to be the most appropriate in making public financial management results-oriented. And a budget program is the main division within a department's budget that funds clearly defined set of objectives based on the services of functions within the development's legislative and other mandates. It also constitutes a management until established within a department responsible for the delivery of that defined set of services and functions. A sub-program is a constituent part of a program that defines the services or activities which contribute to the achievement of objectives of the program, of which it forms a part. The aim of using program-based approach in the budget includes: 1, to enhance program outcomes through the exercise of an accountability framework; 2, to make the use of budget resources more and transparent by use of performance information to set targets and priorities for departments. 3, to ensure allocation of funds in the budget is linked to the achievement of the county's development aspiration in an effective and efficient manner. 4, gives decision makers a clear understanding of the relationship among policies, programs, and resources and results. Another budget document is called County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFSP. The County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFSP, in Kenya is the guide to the county budget process. It looks at how the past and the present setting of the budget process can inform the future. Therefore, it is important to learn how to analyze a county fiscal strategy paper, CFSP. The County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFSP, should specify the broad strategic priorities and policies goals that will guide the county government in preparing its budget for the coming financial year and over the medium term, 3 to 5 years. Every county treasurer should prepare and submit the county fiscal strategy paper, CFSP, to the county executive committee for approval. The county treasurer should then submit the approved fiscal strategy paper to the county assembly by 28th February of each year. The county treasurer must publish and publicize the fiscal strategy paper within 7 days after it has been submitted to the county assembly by 7th March. This allows the public to engage with the document and submit their proposals either in forums organized by a county government or through written submission, memoranda, etc. For the purpose of understanding the county fiscal strategy paper, CFSP, we shall use, for example, the Nairobi County's draft the county fiscal strategy paper. If you go to the Nairobi County government website, you can download that document, the county fiscal strategy paper, and and after downloading, go through it, and you will see all this that I have explained. So another document is called County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, CBRO. Analyzing a county fiscal strategy paper, there are 4 crucial components that are important to analyze the county fiscal strategy paper. 1, performance. 2, priorities. 3, projections. And 4, ceilings. The key components are usually summarized as the three P's, or 3 P's and 1 C's and 1 C. What do I mean by 3 P's and 1 C? It's performance, priorities, projections, and C for ceilings. Let us discuss them in detail below as follows. Performance. Performance section provide up-to-date information on a county government expenditure and revenue collection. It helps to determine whether the decision made going forward on revenue collection and expenditure are realistic. The performance is usually sector-based. For example, how much is the county spending on health in relation to agriculture, or else how much revenue has the county been able to raise? One should be able to pinpoint this information from the fiscal strategy paper. The county government should base their up-to-date budget performance in the previous financial year, and the recent budget implementation reports. The recent budget reports are usually the half-year performance, half-year performance reports produced during the second quarter of the current financial year, July to December. Projections. The second key aspect of the county fiscal strategy paper is called projections. The projections should indicate the overall revenue and expenditure expected for the next or coming budget year. They should also indicate any deficit expected in the budget. The county fiscal strategy paper should indicate how much revenue the county government expects to raise from the central government, from county government, and from its own sub-county revenue resources. It should also indicate the expected revenue from donor funding, grants, and international or external borrowing in the next budget year. For example, for expenditure, the projections should show items like recurrent expenditure, capital or development expenditure, debt repayment, among others. The information on performance serves as the baseline of projecting revenue and expenditure in the next financial year. That is looking at the past and present budget performance to inform the future projections. Priorities. In the county fiscal strategy paper, deal with identifying what to find all the distribution of needs across sectors. This involves identifying priority spending areas. This section of priorities identifies key priorities and the areas to receive less funding so that the priorities can receive more. This should also reflect in the figures provided in the sector ceilings. If you go through that document that I say that you can go to the website of any county, then you download, and then you will find the county fiscal strategy paper. Go through it and you will see all that I'm trying to explain. And then lastly is ceilings. The sector ceilings represent the budget limits. They determine the amount of money allocated to each sector and how the money is distributed across these sectors. The ceilings should show amount of money the counties will spend on meeting the identified priorities. This section involves identifying the numbers, the sector allocations that are the core of every fiscal strategy paper. You should be able to identify the areas getting the highest and the lowest allocation from this section. As noted earlier, the ceiling should correlate with the priority spending areas. The figures provided in the budget ceilings should match with the narrative under priorities. For example, if a county says that it will prioritize health in the priority section, then the budget The budget allocation or ceiling should be increased as compared to the previous financial year or even relative across sectors. The CFP is important in that once these sector ceilings are set, they are final. Therefore, it is important for the public to participate in the preparation of their county's fiscal strategy paper. The budget estimates rely on these ceilings when the estimates are tabled before the county assembly on April 30. This means that the budget ceilings set for sectors such as health, agriculture, education, environment are what appear in the budget estimates unless the county assembly approves changes to the ceilings in the budget estimates. For example, if Kenya shillings 4 billion is allocated for health in the CSP. That is the amount that should appear in the budget estimates. The budget estimates break down the ceilings further into programs and sub-programs and even projects in some cases. Therefore, if you want your sector of choice to be given priority, then you should negotiate this at the sector level when the CSP is out for public participation. In practice, when analyzing a county fiscal strategy paper, the performance projection and ceiling should be provided in table format because they represent figures. The priorities should be in a narrative form since they explain the choices made in the sector ceilings. Another budget document is citizens' budget or Mwananchi budget. Citizens' budget are designed to present key public finance information to a general audience. They are typically written in accessible language and incorporate visual elements to help non-specialist readers understand the information. While the citizens' budget versions executive budget proposal and the enacted budget are most common. Each key document in the budget cycle can and should be presented in a way that the public can understand, or marginalized communities can understand, or people who are unable to learn or to speak the other languages. So it's good if they can understand them in their own language. The citizen budget can be produced by civil society organization, CSS, or other advocacy groups, but should be produced and issued by governments because they serve to institutionalize the government's commitment to presenting its policies in a manner that is understandable to the public. Why are citizens' budget important? Government should ensure citizens have a firm understanding of the many ways the budget affects their lives. By presenting budget information in a more accessible format than most standard budget documents, citizens' budgets foster greater understanding of how public money is being managed. Citizens' budgets should be gateway to more information. They are not meant to replace more detailed budget documents, but they are important for introducing citizens and civil society to the knowledge they need to participate as informed stakeholders and hold the government accountable for how it manages public money. What information should citizens' budget include? Citizen budgets vary widely in focus. content, and length. When developing citizens' budget, the government should consult civil society and the public to identify what information is most useful and how it should be presented. However, citizens' budget should contain information about economic assumption underlining the budget, expectation about economic growth and inflation, and prediction about whether the budget will run a surplus or a deficit. Revenue collection, an explanation of where the government's money comes from. Spending allocations, an explanation of how the money is being spent and why. Significant policy initiatives, an explanation of a sizable increase of decreases in revenue or spending. Contact information, details of who to contact for further information. Then you'll find that citizens' budget can also include information about how the budget is formulated and executed and who is responsible at each stage. Additionally, they can present government policies in specific sectors such as health and education and clarify which level of government, national, or local or sub-counties that is responsible for providing particular services. Citizen budgets can be presented in a number of ways, ranging from a simple brochure length, comprehensive report, no matter the format. The priorities should be to present information about the budget in a concise and easy to understand way. A citizen budget should be produced in all official languages of the country, disseminated widely, and made available at around the same time as the document that it implies. The process of developing a citizen's budget. The government should use citizen budget to engage the public in the budget process. Understanding what the public wants to know is a crucial first step in developing a citizen budget. We have another document. Remember what I have talked about Mwananchi budget. That's also a budget document. We have 11 budget documents. Now, another budget document is called County Budget Implementation Report First Quarter. First quarter is by August 30. This date marks the beginning of the budget process in Kenya, August 30. So on this date, the National Treasury and the County Treasury issue circulars to their respective departments. The circulars contain the guidelines for the budget process for the coming financial year and the procedure to follow to involve the public in the budget process public participation. The national and county, the national and county treasuries should also make the circulars available to the public. E.g., this is important to know the budget calendar. It's important to know the budget calendar for national government or your county government. September 1. On this day, the county planning departments should table the annual development plan ADPs in their respective assemblies. They should then make the ADPs public within 7 days. after tabling them before the county assemblies. There is no specific date by which the county assembly should approve the ADPs. The national government does not produce an annual development plan because it relies on long-term plans such as the Vision 2030. September 1 to February 15th, the National Treasury and the county treasuries should conduct sector hearings during this period. The sector hearings allow the public and other stakeholders to give their views at the sectoral level, e.g. security, health, agriculture, education, etc. These views are necessary to enable the National Treasury to prepare national budget policy statement and also county treasuries to prepare the county fiscal strategy paper. September 30, the National Treasury and the county treasuries should produce their respective budget review and outlook papers by this date of September 30th. Another document is second quarter document, which is by 1st October 31st, by 1st October to 31st December. October to October 21. By this date, the National Treasury should table the national budget review and outlook paper BROB before the National Assembly. So the county treasury should also table the county budget review and outlook paper before their respective county assemblies. This allows the National Assembly and the county assembly to discuss the document. October 31st, the deadline for county governments to publish their first quarter budget implementation reports. They should then make the reports public, usually through their respective websites. October 31st, also, this is the deadline for the control of budget to release the first quarter budget implementation reports. The reports are for the national government and the county governments respectively. The controller of budget should then table these reports before the Senate and the National Assembly and then publicize them usually through their websites. November 15, the national government should publish its first quarter budget implementation report by this date. It should then table the report before the National Assembly. Thereafter, it should make the report public, usually through their Treasury website. By December 31st, the Auditor General should release the audit reports by this date. These reports are for both national and the county governments for the previous financial year ending on 31st June. Another one is third quarter document, and this is from 1st January to 30th March. 1st January, the Commission of Revenue Allocation (CRA) should submit its recommendation on the vertical sharing of national revenue to the National Treasury by this date of January 1st. Vertical sharing is the division of the ordinary tax revenue that the national government raises nationally between the national and the county governments. 31st, the county governments should publish and publicize their second quarter budget implementation reports. By this date, the reports cover the period from 1st October to 31st of the current financial year. And then January 31st, the deadline for the control of budget to release the second quarter budget implementation reports. The reports are for both the national and the county governments. The office should table the reports before the parliament and then make them public. February 15th, the national government should publish its second quarter budget implementation report. It should table the report before the National Assembly and then make it public. Then February 15th, the National Treasury should submit 4 crucial documents to Parliament. On this date, these are the National Budget Policy Statement, Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy Paper, the Division of Revenue Bill, and the County Allocation of Revenue Bill. The Parliament should approve the Budget Policy Statement by 28th of February. By 28th of February, also the county treasuries should table their respective county fiscal strategy paper, CFSP, before the county assemblies by February 28th. And also same by February 28th, the Cabinet Secretary for Finance should submit the statement of the debt management strategy to the Commission of Revenue Allocation and Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council. Then publish and publicize the statement. March 1. This is the deadline for the National Treasury to publish and publicize the budget policy statement after tabling it before Parliament. March 7, the deadline for the county treasuries to publish and publicize their fiscal strategy paper after tabling them before the county assembly. March 14, the county assemblies should approve their respective county fiscal strategy paper by that March 14th. By March 15th, this is the deadline for the Parliament to consider the division of revenue county allocation of revenue bills and approve them with or without amendments. And then we have lastly the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter starts from 1st April to 30th June. April 30th, deadline for the counties to publish their third quarter budget implementation reports. And then April 30th is deadline for the control of budget to publish and publicize the third quarter budget implementation reports. The reports are both national and county governments. April 30th also, the National Treasury should submit the national budget proposals or budget estimates before the Parliament, and the National Treasury prepares the national budget estimates in Kenya. So the Judiciary and the Parliamentary Service Commission should also submit the independent budgets before the Parliament. April 30th, also the deadline for the Cabinet Secretary for Finance to submit the finance bill before the National Assembly, outlining the revenue-raising measures for the national government. Also, the same April 30th, each county treasury should submit the county budget proposals or budget estimates to the county assembly on this date of April 30th. So the county treasurer prepares the county budget estimates. Each county assembly clerk should prepare this, should prepare and submit to the county assembly. So the budget estimates for the county assembly, the clerk should also submit a copy of the estimates to the county executive committee member for finance. And then we have another budget document called Budget Policy Statement. Budget Policy Statement is a government policy document that sets out the broad strategy, priorities, and policy goals to guide the national government and the county governments in preparing their budgets for the subsequent financial year. The Budget Policy Statements, PBS, is a document which must be produced by the national government every year using the PPS 2016 as an example, at the county level, the equivalent document to the PBS is called the County Fiscal Strategy Papers, CFSP. The National Treasury should include the budget policy statement, an assessment of the current state of the economy and the financial outlook for the midterm, including macroeconomic forecast performance, the financial outlook for government revenue, expenditure, and borrowing for the next financial year, and over the midterm projections. The proposed and expenditure limits for the national government, including those of parliament and judiciary, and indicative transfers to county governments' ceilings. The fiscal responsibility principles and financial objectives over the medium term, including limits on total annual debt priorities. Now, when are the budget policy statement and the county fiscal strategy papers produced? The PBS tabled in the National Assembly no later than February 15th and should be made available to the public within 15 days. And being tabled, the CFSP is tabled in the County Assembly no later than February 28th and should be made available to the public within 7 days of being tabled. So in practice, the PBS is usually made available upon tabling. County governments should also allow this practice by publishing the CFSP in a timely manner. Why are the budget policy statement and the county fiscal strategy paper important? The PBS and CFSP are arguably the most important budget document in the annual budget cycle. Now, how big should the total budget be in the next year? This means estimating total revenue, total spending, and where spending in larger than revenue or total deficit, also called financing. Then the last budget document is called Kenya Finance Act. So the Finance Act 2021, the act was enacted on 29th June 2021. So the act amends various provisions of tax and fiscal laws, including Income Tax Act, the Value Added Tax Act, Excise Duty Act, Tax Procedures Act, Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act. Furthermore, the Act stimulates changes to other acts such as the Capital Market Act, Insurance Act, Kenya Revenue Authority Act, Retirement Benefits Act, and Central Depositories Act. In addition, this publication has addressed taxation provisions that were not in the Finance Bill 2021. So the Act has introduced new legislative provision of registered trustees, minimum tax, and additional investment allowances on capital investments. And those are the most important budget documents that appear during a budget process in Kenya, because we have when you hear budget in Kenya, they are process of the budget, and during the process of the budget, all those budget documents that I have talked about, they appear during these stages of budget process. Thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you so much as you also go through all the budget documents that I have explained. You can go through them, you can ask any question. We are here to answer your question and to help you understand the budget, to help you be able to understand what is the budget in Kenya is about, or what that budget carries, and what are those documents, and how can you access those documents through county websites or government websites. So it's good citizens of Kenya to understand the country budget or government budget, so that they can be able to engage government and to be able to know where their money is going, what job their money is doing, or how their money is being handled with our elected leaders. So it's good citizens to know and understand the budget in Kenya. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you so much.